Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to welcome you here for another BizTalk. And if you watch our last month's BizTalk, it was mostly focused on startups and people who wants to start their own company and want to do proper predictions. While this month we'll be talking more about the uh, software houses, IT, and software development. So we're still in that tech bubble, but we're approaching it from slightly different angle. And it is my great pleasure to welcome two representatives of software houses from Poland, Łukasz Karwacki from Sunscrapers, co-founder and CEO, and Michał Krochecki from Visuality, COO of the company. And
Hi,
I
guys.
do not like to talk about our guests here, so I will give them the voice, please.
Okay, please, Łukasz. Let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Łukasz Karwacki. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sunscrapers. Sunscrapers is a software development company. We do custom web applications with Python and JavaScript. We also help our clients with data engineering and data science. We've been on the market for 11 years now. We focus mostly on UK, US, and Western European clients.
Okay, great. So as introduced before, I'm Michał Krochecki. I'm COO of Visuality. Well, Visuality is exactly the same. It's a software house. No surprise here, right? We are slightly different at that point. We, of course, will be talking about that later. We are focusing on taking over projects. We are focusing also on creating MVPs, so that projects from scratch. We also have rich project management experience. So our project managers also take part in outsourcing projects as consultants. And we also have a company, a separate company that's called Visuality. And we do UX UI design there, but the companies are combined. So we are a full stack software house that specializes in Ruby on Rails and React.js, and working mainly for European and American clients.
Thank you. And I believe that we should start from the very beginning. So can you please tell us how it all started? How did your software houses company begin? Łukasz, can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I was studying in London. I went to university there. And I started my career, I studied computer graphics, so it was natural for me to move to web design at some point. And I started as a sort of freelance web designer. Then I was hired by a marketing agency and was doing web development as well at that time. And I was thinking about coming back to Poland at some point. My friend, actually like childhood friend, was studying at Warsaw University of Technology, and he was like a really good programmer. So, you know, we thought, okay, I will come back and we can like combine our forces. We can join forces, me as a designer, himself as a developer. And that's how it started. Luckily for us, I was able to bring some of my clients from the UK to Poland, so they still worked with me after moving back to my home country. So that's how it started. It was sort of like a natural progression. I remember the design agency I used to work for. They said, you know, Łukasz, we can send you some work for another 3 months just to help with the transition. And you know, we've been working with them for 10 more years, so it was a kind of funny story, but yeah, that definitely helped us kickstart the business and expand.
And Michał, because as I learned before our talk here, you were also studying briefly abroad. So can you tell us about your experience with that?
Yeah, sure. However, in my case, it wasn't. I didn't meet anybody that I built business with, because this is a completely different story. First of all, I'm not the founder of Visuality. This is important to mention. I came in 5 years ago, so I'm kind of an outsider, but not anymore, because I'm on C-level right now, right? How Visuality started. So this company was founded by three founders with different skills. So there was Michał, focusing on skills. There was another Michał, that was the CTO, and Marcin, that was a project manager and kind of a UX designer. So three combined skills, as always in young companies, that brought guys to the conclusion that why not starting a company? They started the company in 2007, and first of all, that was a company that was focusing on web development. So it wasn't about web apps, it wasn't about mobile apps, it was about websites, which was pretty hot in 2007. Like large companies in Poland, especially, they were like thriving. And then after a couple of years, when they realized that they get a lot of questions, a lot of inquiries about web apps, they had expertise, they had knowledge, they didn't have much people. So they started hiring people, pretty good engineers, good talents that they were hunting, and they started to build Ruby on Rails applications. And well, after 13 years, we are here, and we are one of the best Rails companies according to the Clutch, which is industry review website. And we are not going anywhere, I guess. So this is the brief story. Regarding my studies, you asked me, I was studying in Granada in Spain. I finished bilingual high school, so I was speaking already decent Spanish, I guess, and I decided to go to Spain. That brought me a lot of experience with different cultures. Of course, not directly with IT business, because I appeared in the IT business later. But for example, to give you a simple anecdote, my best friends in Spain were Americans. And to that day, I like to do business with Americans. This is one of our main areas of business. And I guess I learned what they're looking for.
Thank you. And as always, in the beginning, I have to forget something. So please, if you have any questions, write them down, and we will have a little bit of a Q&A session at the end of the talk. But it was a good segue, because we talk a little bit about history of your education and your companies, and now we can go a little bit more into the topics of today's talk. So, as a software development companies, do you only work on like software projects, or do you also offer clients some additional services? Do you provide anything like this, or like do you work on MVPs or some consultancy? Maybe now, Łukasz.
Okay, yeah. So that's an interesting question. I mean, there is a lot of different cooperation models if you look at software development companies, and you know, on one end you can start with pretty much like recruitment services, you know. So there are companies that just like look for specific developers or people with specific skills, and then they sort of lease them out to the client. So, you know, there are different names for this service. You might have heard of body leasing, team leasing. Sometimes it's also called team extension, staff augmentation. So, you know, it's actually quite difficult to get into this topic because the terminology is not straightforward. You really need to understand what's behind these terms. And, you know, in some companies, people would work from clients' offices, at least like pre-COVID. In some other, they would be in one building at the software house company, basically. And then you can move towards models where basically where there is more value added than just like renting out a team. So there are models where companies can supply clients with design services, or even like do some sort of like strategic or product consulting work, where, you know, we had projects where we basically advised very inexperienced non-technical clients on how to approach building a startup, building an MVP application. And when we've started, you know, with like business workshops. So we've actually tried to even help them express their vision put it into writing, translate it into technical terms, and then proceed to design and development services. We've got data science now, we've got DevOps as well. So there is a lot of different services that can be combined. And we've got, as mentioned, the team extension models and then the project-based work as well. So it all depends on particular project and the needs of the client. Some companies are also trying to build their own products, and that may be in combination with clients, or they may try to do that alone. Some other companies start investing in other people's startups. So yeah, there is a lot of various models you can work with clients, starting from the sort of simplest team, developer delivery, let's call it like this, and then proceeding with the more complex services where you add many different specialties, many different skills to the project, and you help clients develop not only software, but actually like you help them build their companies.
Thank you. And Michał, how it is with Visuality?
Pretty much the same. I could say nothing, but we are right now, we like to call ourselves a boutique software house. So pretty much we do everything. Boutique doesn't mean that, we are we have a posh office or whatsoever, but it means that we are having all the possible services in one place. So we are a full stack place. Let's say you need to build an application. So first of all, you need to have some kind of a plan, you have an idea that needs to be translated into a concept, translated into real life tasks that can be performed by developers. Łukasz already said about workshops. This is one of the most crucial parts of Visuality services. When we build something new, we treat every client separately. Every client we give them equally precise attention, let's say, in terms of discovering their product. That stage often in software houses, dev shops, it's called discovery stage. So we emphasize this discovery stage so much because we learned on our experience that if you omit this step, if you don't have clear requirements from the client, if you don't have clear division into phases of the project, you don't have clearly defined MVP, you don't have plan for the next phases, you don't have business cases described well, so then most likely, of course, I'm not saying that it's always happening, you're most likely going to fail. Therefore, that preparation stage at our company when we build something from scratch is very important. Of course, then we estimate using different techniques, like, for example, 3-point technique estimation. We draw mock-ups. We sometimes create clickable prototypes so our clients can show them, for example, to their investors before they get money, because this is another topic, of course, how our clients get the funding. I'm sure that we're going to talk about that later. Nevertheless, we are giving this full stack service from the very beginning. We are able to provide, as I said before, project management. So especially for the clients that they don't have, they can have very good business knowledge. They know what they're doing and they're like really good at it, but they don't know how to lead, how to perform in an IT project. They simply don't have experience with that because their business was, for example, offline before. So we are there as a business partner, as a business-driven partner that understands and wants to understand what our client is doing, and we add this technological value that I'm sure that Łukasz exactly gives the same. However, we work also, from what I know, in different technologies that can also make a difference. Also, there's a question whether it's a mobile app, whether it's a web app, whether it's some kind of integration or no-code solution. So we try to be, very focused on every client. And before we start working with the client, we sit and discuss, and then we plan our next move.
I might add to that one more thing. Actually, like to make things more complex, it's it's one of the most difficult things, I think, to assess what the client really needs, because like the cooperation model, the services that you supply your clients with, the team composure depends a lot on the client and the project itself, and technology as well. I mean, you know, we're doing Python since the beginning, and Python, you know, is becoming more and more popular, but historically it's been like a you know, a programming language for special projects. You know, Java and C, these were languages used in, you know, corporate world. So you had like, you know, huge ongoing projects, teams of, you know, 20, 30 developers. And Python, on the contrary, was much more demanding, because usually you just like had a very specific application for Python. So that every time it's kind of difficult, but also it takes time to figure out what the client really needs. We had clients that approached us and said, oh, you know, we can do everything ourselves, we can manage the team, so just like let us access the most talented developers you've got in Poland. And it turned out that, you know, they sort of like overestimated their skills, and at the end we had to step in with our own management to basically help the project move on. And on the contrary as well, we had examples where somebody, you know, thought that what he or she needs is just like a one-off project, and then, you know, it evolved into the sort of like ongoing dedicated team assignment. So it's really tricky there. It's yeah, I think one of the most difficult things to establish at the beginning.
Łukasz, let me tell you something. What do we sell? Do we sell programming? Do we sell projects? No. You know what I think? We sell know-how. We sell the knowledge of how to do things, how to lead the project, how to build something. We don't have necessarily be the best programmers in the world, but we know how to do things. And this is what actually software houses are about. You buy not the coding service, you buy the knowledge, you buy the experience.
Yes, although not everyone realizes that, right? I mean, some clients are very confident of themselves and like opinionated at the same time. So it also sometimes takes a longer while to you know, educate them and also explain things to them.
Yeah, the eternal question, do our clients know what they want? That probably can write a PhD thesis on that. And something that you, Łukasz, mentioned actually in the first part of your answer. So like the internal projects. So do the software houses or software development companies work on internal projects as well, or do they focus mostly on the clients and the ideas or projects that they're coming with?
Yeah, so you know, providing services, doing the client work is why we exist. So we're service-based companies, and you know, we do work for hire. So that's the very basis. But then, you know, as companies, as software houses carry on in the work, you know, it's tempting. You know, you look at the clients, you know, obviously some of the project may fail at the end, but some of them will be successful. And I think this, I see this temptation among software development companies, you know, to at some point start something of their own, because it seems very attractive. I mean, services are, you can scale services linearly, meaning that, you know, the more people you have, the more revenue you have, you sell time. So it's quite linear relation there. And when you look at product, it's not really like that, but you imagine the hockey stick, you know, so imagine the scaling, you know, at some point you detach your revenue from the number of employees, and you basically, you know, start selling your software at a mass scale. So it's tempting to go that path. And I know many companies like ours, we've also tried this ourselves, but the lesson there is that, you know, unless you set up a separate team, a dedicated team, separate resources, it's very hard to do, you know, internal projects on the side. I mean, you may end up with some sort of like script or software to help you in your day-to-day work. You know, we had a tool to manage, for example, employee absences, you know, and that worked fairly well. But to be honest, to compete on the broader market, you really need to think of it as a separate business, and you need to set it up this way. So I think many companies learned that themselves, but yeah, I guess it takes time. So yeah, services as the basis, and then you may experiment in one way or the other with internal or side projects.
Yeah, and Michał, in Visuality, do you do some internal projects?
So we are pretty much similar to Sunscrapers. Let's say that, yeah, our main area of focus always, it will be project-based clients. So we take over the whole development, or we are a secondary team, or we are members of the pod. So we, as before we said, together we were working in different models. This is of course the essence of our businesses. This is without a doubt a clear statement. However, yes, we tried. We tried a couple of years back. I was not yet in Visuality. The product was called Magello. It was a tour operator CRM system based on a SaaS model. Our CEO said to me once, never again build a product. It's not entirely true. I will tell you in a moment. It wasn't that bad. We sold it with profit. It was used for some time, but I'm not sure if people are using it still, because it was years ago, which in IT is like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So in IT, 5 years, it's a long time. We made an attempt to build a new product. In the beginning of the pandemic, we were pretty much scared of the situation. As everybody, we're buying all the rice you could buy in the shops, all the water you could buy in the local żabka or local shops, etc. But we're afraid what's going to happen to our business. In the end, it ended up like pretty well. However, we didn't know that, so we're looking for different ways of monetizing our people and maybe starting a new business. We created something on paper called Bolsa. It was basically, long story short, grocery delivery, but in small towns and small cities, which is still not that popular in smaller cities in Poland. And at that point wasn't like even existing. So we approached this topic very seriously, because we have large experience with building products. We have experience in raising money, because our CEO is very good at it. He helps people raise money too. So we started creating this strategy. We started creating materials, presentations. We're very serious about that. Unfortunately, we failed. This is not a surprise, because we didn't have that much time to build something, touchable, something that an investor could see. And we didn't get lucky. Also, there was a lot of competition on that market in the beginning of the pandemic. So unfortunately, that product haven't appeared. However, it shows that there's a potential in software houses like Visuality, like Sunscrapers, because every day we work with clients, every day we see different businesses, every day we see different funding sources, etc. So then a software house, if there's a good idea and time, which of course is non-existent because we have everybody on board in projects, etc. But if that happens, that we'll have a couple of good developers free, and for example, we have a very good idea, that's possible. I'm not sure if that's going to happen ever, but I think that a lot of software houses, they have this potential to build very good software.
And it's quite a sort of refreshing experience as well, to put yourself in clients' shoes.
Exactly.
So to build something for yourself with your own money, so it makes you think about, how to do things efficiently, because you've got your own stake in there. So yeah, I mean, we are actually building one project now. We've got an application called Weekly that will solve one of our own pains. It's going to be a software that will help you manage a service-based business and then optimize profitability. So we'll see how it goes. Yes, we sort of approach this very seriously this time too, and we try to apply like all the lessons learned. It's exciting. I mean, I find it personally exciting. So yeah, I mean, during when the pandemic started, I guess all clients got a little bit scary, and they sort of like stopped orders, or like paused work or decreased team sizes. So I also saw this movement among software development companies to maybe take this time and think of a product or a different service line, like basically regroup strategically. And yeah, we'll see the effects, I guess, in the next year or two.
Awesome.
Good luck with that.
Maybe in few months' time we will invite you again for the topic how software houses are becoming new startups, and we will hear more about that. You mentioned COVID, so like I have to jump to that. Can you tell us, please, how COVID changed the IT and software development sector? Maybe Michał, start now, please.
Sure. Well, that was a scary moment, of course. We are at a, let's say, difficult moment when we were struck by the pandemic. We made certain changes in the company, of course, before we even knew that anything like that would happen. So we had, from, of course, today's perspective, we have a lot of management. We had engineering managers. We had a CTO a little bit detached from everyday coding, and we quickly realized that it's an overkill in terms of, and we are a small company, so having a lot of managers, of course, can help in certain areas, like, for example, employees' growth, like quality assurance and quality in general of written code. However, when you have a problem or a possible problem with orders, we didn't know that. For example, for us, COVID was pretty cool. I will tell you that in a moment, in terms of orders, but we didn't know that. So we made certain changes in the company. My answer will be also combined with your previous question, Adrian. So we've done a certain investment on our part. We had a friend that started the company. I'm sure that he won't mind if I say that it's called Spacelift. Marcin created Spacelift. It's a DevOps terraforming app. I won't get into details because it's pretty complicated. And he needed specialists. He needed very good engineers, and we known each other for a couple of years. And our CEO decided to borrow, let's say, our employees to Spacelift, so they could create initial application that could be used and shown to investors. And they were fortunate because, of course, not only because of us, because of their business knowledge, etc. They managed to get a lot of funding. They got, like, I think $20 million or even more. And this was by coincidence. So we borrowed people that were not monetized at Visuality, and together, because of that action, we were able to help a company grow. So for us, COVID was, let's say, lucky, because it forced us to make a good decision towards changes, towards like cutting the unnecessary, from today's perspective, management. That was an overkill. We helped with that. Another company that raised a lot of money and they're succeeding. And at the same time, we found ourselves in a very good spot with good margin, we remained a quality company. So in summary, COVID in the beginning was very scary, was tough. What was tough on us because we weren't coming to the office, we were feeling a little bit alone, detached. But in the end, we figured it out in terms of business, and we figured it out also in the end in terms of our relationships at the company. And until now, we are continuing being at the office almost every day. We haven't stopped, basically. Like, there were always some people coming to the office. So summing up, scary beginning and good end, hopefully.
And yeah. Łukasz, how it was at Sunscrapers?
Yeah, pretty much similar. I mean, it was scary. The times were uncertain at the beginning. Nobody knew what to expect, how long it's gonna last. So sales for us, like, pretty much like stopped everything we had in the process. Like, everything was paused. So we didn't know what to expect. And we also took time to restructure the company. We've changed offices, we cut a lot of like unnecessary expenses. So yes, I mean, this was like, what, like they say, forests need small fires from time to time just to clear the ground up and to avoid a huge, fire at the end of the day. So I think it was also like coming out of it was a good experience. Our company benefited from it. We made strategic changes when it comes to the services we focus on, and also we made the decision to invest in weekly app. So it was at the end, valuable experience, I'd say. The market has changed maybe permanently though, because I see two things happening now. Like first is the increased demand, that's for sure. I mean, you can see it everywhere, no matter the industry. Companies stop spending money or on investing, for a year and a half, and now they want to regain that time. So they are actually very offensive, and they've got bigger budgets. They want to spend it quicker, and that also affects software development. So there is huge demand for developers, programmers. The market there is definitely on the rise. And the second thing that has changed is obviously companies opening themselves up to remote work. So we worked remotely since the beginning because we had clients in the UK to start with, then US, etc. So we thought we can let our team members work from different places as well, because we know how to manage it. And we had like employees these were usually Polish people, but some of them were living in Japan, Australia. So sometimes we had like 16 hours of time difference with our clients, and we did okay. But still, a lot of the companies, especially I would say even like Europe seems to be more conservative in this aspect. A lot of companies would only want to employ people in-house, or they would require that the whole team is located in the very same building, or even like in one room. So after COVID, we can definitely see that many more companies are basically hiring globally directly, and they had to do that. I mean, they had to do it. So yeah, there is like many new interesting players entering the Polish market, and I guess like the global market as well. So that's on one hand that creates some challenges for software development companies, and on the other, there are certain opportunities to explore there as well.
Okay. I have to agree. It was pretty much the same for us. We've been working with US-based, Gulf countries-based projects. It didn't change much in terms of the countries that our leads are coming from, because it's still all the time North America, UK, Gulf countries, as I mentioned. However, one thing changed. They need a lot of less convincing in terms of the work. We are pretty much used to asynchronous work. All our developers are basically in Poland, in-house. Most of them. We have two offices, one in Warsaw, the other in Poznań, so it's the same time zone. But people that you already mentioned, that Łukasz, they were kind of they needed to be like opened towards remote work, because well, their employees were anyway at home in some countries for over a year. There are countries that have still not opened the offices back, like Australia. So a lot of cultures, they saw the opportunity in looking for remote teams, because it didn't make much difference for them in terms of daily work. And they were looking for companies like ours that are anyway used to asynchronous work, and we have specific ways how to deal with the overlap. So we've been working with California-based companies for years now. They always express that kind of worry, that risk that they see, that okay guys, but what about the time difference? And of course we have all the answers they can get. However, some people, from my perspective, they even stopped asking that question. And that's the biggest change that I see in terms of the approach towards hiring remote teams. And the second factor that you already, Łukasz, also mentioned is the price. Because let's not lie to each other, hiring a California-based team or hiring good specialists in Silicon Valley. It's going to cost you a lot more than hiring a decent engineer. In Poland, Ukraine, Romania, in general, in Central and Western Europe. And that's also the one of the most important factors. Some people they say yeah, you could go to India, or you could go to Ukraine or Belarus, etc., where the prices are lower. However, I'm sure that you're going to ask this question, Adrian, anyway. I think Polish developers, our companies, they have this advantage over different countries, that we are kind of in the middle, because Polish people are communicative, and we have this kind of this vibe, this opinion. We speak decent English. Well, our listeners gonna judge our English, I'm sure. Nevertheless, we are a combination of both worlds. This decent and very good quality, good communication, transparency, and being in the heart of Europe. So that's what people, I think, finally saw during COVID. We don't have to convince them anymore.
Yeah, I would also add that like the prices in general are rising because of the increased demand, and I would also say that the difference in prices is getting actually smaller. So Poland used to be a cheap outsourcing destination 10 years ago, but now it can be quite expensive as well. I mean, we are starting to compete with software development companies from smaller US cities, or from some Southern European countries. So it adds some responsibility to our companies, because we just need to prove the value. So yeah, it's we basically need to prove to our clients that we worth the money. So yeah,
we do that every day, I guess. Let's see what our clients say, because of course we are both salesmen, Łukasz. Like, it's obvious that we're going to say all the good things about our companies. However, what is important is what our clients say. So I guess that recently I realized that more and more clients, they ask me for references. Before, of course, it was happening. Now they look at our reviews on Clutch, they look at our Google, etc. But recent client, the most recent client I got, he asked me for 5 references, and he called them all, and he spoke with all of them. So yeah, there's an important factor. So this, let's say, whisper marketing and the opinion. And I would say that also one thing that COVID made me realize more and more, that the most important thing at Visuality, of course, except repeating all the time quality, etc., is the reputation. So maintaining a good reputation, because without that, as you said, Łukasz, yeah, we are competing with a lot of countries, with a lot of different companies. The competition is huge. India is a 1 billion people country, and they also have risen their rates. So in order to be competitive, Polish companies, they need to maintain this high quality and take care of our reputation, let's say, which is still pretty good, but I think there's a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that that the prices for software houses in Poland are rising and matching some of the countries in Western Europe. Obviously, the prices.
That's not good news for startup founders, to be honest.
Exactly. Adrian, you shouldn't be happy.
Yeah, I know that I'm working on one idea, and I actually wanted to talk with you about it after, but I'll rethink that. But that's obviously the different topic. But like, price is only one leverage. So the fact that like Polish software houses are raising the prices and still winning the contracts over over companies in Western Europe or US based is absolutely a great sign, and for our country. And as we mentioned, the broad topic of Polishness, we have to jump on that. Michał, you kind of jump on that question, but I'll ask it anyway. So the Polish developers has a really good reputations, and in the hacker ranks, we are in the top places. Does the fact that you're from Poland help you winning the contracts? How does it work?
Well,
Um,
it's a difficult question, I guess, because not everybody reads HackerRank. Not everybody is familiar with such rankings. In general, I guess it's a lot of work that has been done in Polish software houses and in general among Polish companies that were trying to compete with Western companies, trying to compete with companies from European Union, etc. It's a lot of work that we've been doing. Our colleagues have been doing since our, I guess, access to European Union. The consciousness of the Polish quality is rising. I hear a lot of things like, for example, oh yeah, guys, I heard Polish developers are the best. I'm willing to try that. I'm willing to test that. And recently, our client from UK told us that he had some reservations. He had some worries because he told me directly he worked with Polish people, but not Polish people from IT business. So he had some misconceptions about Poles, about our way of doing things. But he realized that what happens in IT business, especially, is professionalism combined with transparency and good communication. So this is something that my clients repeat, and I think that they repeat that also in our reviews on Clutch, saying all the time that there's a good communication. They don't feel that, as I mentioned before, they don't feel the change they don't feel the different time zone that we're working in. So all that combined with, of course, still attractive pricing compared to their countries. I know, Łukasz, that it's changing. However, still we can compete also with price at the same time, not resigning from our margin. So being productive here in terms of business. So this consciousness changed a lot, and I think pandemic even changed that for the better, because as we both said before, people are not afraid of hiring remote people. So we have still very good reputation. We have decent pricing, and all that combined made people to, tell their friends that, okay, I'm using that Polish developer and he's great. Like, that company helped me grow my business, for example. People talk to each other, and I guess there are certain countries that it's difficult still, even because of the pandemic, to enter with our business. Yet that concept, let's say, of Polish hardworking developer is existing more and more in different countries.
Yeah, and I've got like a slightly different observation here, because we asked, during those strategic sessions I mentioned, we asked ourselves who our ideal client is, and why the clients choose us over other companies, or even like Poland over other countries. And I wasn't expecting this conclusion, but what I found out is that we've got a good reputation among people who already are familiar with Poland. If they've got some links, they've got very often, they would visit Poland for, some parties in Krakow, or their partner would be Polish, or, they have worked with Polish developers. So they've got some sort of experience, and they are willing to go there again. They know Poland is good for the quality and hard work, for example. But among those people who didn't, don't have any experience with working in Poland, like, Poland is pretty much non-existent. I mean, this is sometimes sad, but when you speak to like Americans, they think everything in the Eastern Europe is called Russia, basically. So there is, I would say that our reputation is good, but it doesn't get ahead of us like a lot. So we haven't got like a global, PR. Oh, that's the place you should be looking at. I mean, sometimes people find us out by accident. Sometimes, we get recommended, basically as companies being based in Poland. But I think there is still some work to be done on the sort of like PR side, just to, you know, reach the people that haven't heard of Poland before. You know, they still are often not very aware of our quality and you know, value for money that we can offer.
Well, I have to agree that that it's not a global phenomenon, but I guess that in Europe we are pretty much well known. That's for sure. But I wanted to say just one more thing, that that's why I think it's so important to, you know, maintain that good reputation. So people that worked with you, they're gonna tell you that they're gonna tell their friends, they're gonna tell their partners that they had good experience. That's what I was saying. So I kind of, well, this is my wish, that if we keep doing what we're doing, so keep up the good work, maintain high quality, so more and more people will learn. Of course, again, that is my wish, that I hope that's going to happen.
Yeah. So, damn it, I have to jump with a different question now because of what you just said, Michał. And so you mentioned that like communication, that relationship. So do you see that there is a possibility for long-term projects or a cooperation with your clients? How does it work with you in your companies?
But what do you mean? What is long-term for you?
So, like, if you work on it, as you mentioned, the Visuality started with websites. So, like, I assume that, like, once you build that website, or maybe now the whole portal, like with login system, etc., often that has a clear end, that like the moment that it works for the company, you might focus on a different project for the different client. But do you see that, like, the companies are coming back, or like we want to have a version 2.0 or something change in the outcome that they wanted, and they're
okay,
they're
I get you
back.
now. I got you now. Sure. So in Visuality, we have pretty much all kinds of scenarios. We have had projects that lasted couple of years. For example, we built an MVP. Then we continued adding more and more features. Then at some point we pivoted with the client and changed the whole concept. We simultaneously were working on a new version while working on the old version. So it's a common practice that you maintain the existing, kind of, yes, but you maintain an existing application, and on the side you build a new one that's going to be better, that's going to have new features, that's going to be a 2.0, let's say. So that all happened. We had projects that lasted for a couple of years. Recently, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we finished one of our longest project, lasted 4.5 years, because of the COVID, because of the problems that our client had with their business. But they told me already they're planning to come back when they raise more money, because they are based in UK. UK opened up right now. They have little restrictions. So our clients, well, I say clients, not former clients, because I still treat them as clients. I hope they're going to get back to us, and we're going to build something more. So this is an example of long-term relationship that either party wouldn't like to terminate if not for COVID. Of course, it's not every time like that. Sometimes we are hired for a specific job that we finish and then we part ways. This is normal thing, because software houses like Visuality, like Sunscrapers, we need to be flexible in terms of our services. So if a client wants to partner up with us for years, we can do that. Most likely we'll do everything to make that happen. If a client wants to hire us to be a team extension, as already Łukasz mentioned, this is one of the models that he does, we also do that. So we are not sure if the client's gonna work with us for 3 months, 6 years, 1 year, 2 years. It can last for years as well, but it can be also a project limited in time. So of course, my answer is yes, it is possible to maintain long relationships with the clients. A lot of clients are looking for that. Recently, we acquired a new client that specifically mentioned that he's tired of switching the providers all the time. He was not happy with the previous developers because of the quality, because of the speed. And of course, I'm doing everything I can to satisfy him. However, he expressed that specifically, that he's looking for a long-term relationship. He said, guys, if I grow my business, I want to grow with you. And we said the same, like vice versa. It's exactly the same what we expect. We like to grow with the client. So definitely it is possible. However, I understand, and I'm also welcoming clients that hire us for a specific job, hire us to build an MVP that can then be developed further. But if the client decides to, okay, guys, it's time for me to hire my own team. So I'm sometimes helping my client to find the team for them to hire in-house, because I feel like I owe my client a little help that I can, do, for example, recommend some people I know that are looking for a job in a product. So this is what's happening right now. And yeah.
But that's also like one of the misconceptions many people still have, about software development, because I would answer this question by saying everything that's successful, every successful project needs a long time relationship, because software development is no longer about, one of projects, that you do on a fixed fee basis where you estimate, everything from start till finish, you assign deadlines and a budget. I mean, it doesn't work like that. Everything needs constant maintenance, but also like improvement. And people who don't get this, fail basically, because they would spend their whole budget on the development, on the phase one, without even getting like any traction, feedback, any clients. And, that's the point where they run out of money. So you don't want to get there. And we especially like for those first-time founders, less experienced clients, we take time to explain that, don't spend all your money on software development, spend maybe 50% at most, leave the rest for promotion and marketing, and B, don't spend all your software development budget on the MVP. Leave something for improvements, additions, changes, and maintenance. So it is a journey, and if you're to be successful, then you should certainly think of it in years rather than months. And we've got our most successful clients are with us for a long time. The average, when talking about this sort of team extension dedicated team model, I've calculated the average. We've got 5 years long cooperations on average. We've got one client still with us from the beginning, so it's 11 years and counting. And that's actually a great opportunity for software services companies, because you can grow with your clients. I've heard of companies that had just 1 or 2 clients, honestly, and employed 200, 300 people. It is possible if you're lucky. I mean,
it is risky. It is risky.
I've heard about companies that basically, they also say with big clients, you're 2 unpaid invoices away from bankruptcy. So there were cases like that as well. That's risky, but it is possible. And sales are difficult in this business, as we talked about it today. It takes a lot of effort. You've got to have a reputation. You need to have some references, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, if you get if you're able to sign up a successful client, then the business can carry on for years and years, and you can grow with that client and learn from that client. So it's at the end of the day, it can be very rewarding and interesting experience. So yeah, I guess that's one of the huge advantages of running a business like this. You participate in building great products, some of them well known globally, and you make money on the way as well.
Exactly, I agree completely.
I'm pretty sure participating in a super successful project is a great also for your companies. But on that risky approach, just a few weeks from bankruptcy, like there is there is a there is a good idea in that, or a good example of very successful entrepreneur, because as per Elon Musk's biography, he closed one of the rounds of funding for Tesla just few hours before actually running out of money, and now I assume, as per today, he is the richest person in the world. So so maybe that's a good idea in some cases. But coming back to the topic of Polishness in your sector, do you feel like the differences in a business culture have impact on you winning the contracts or getting clients in different markets? How do you approach that, Michał?
It certainly has some impact. Cultural differences are always important to remember. How we greet somebody, how quickly we move to negotiation. This is all handbook negotiations. Always, you know, in books, in materials, in trainings, you will always hear about that. I would say that it counts less and less because of the globalization, because of that we are working with people from certain industries, we're working people with certain education. For example, my Saudi Arabian clients, let's say Kuwaiti clients, they're all educated in the United States. So in terms of business negotiations, then they tend to remind me more of American negotiation style than Arabic negotiation style. So it's all kind of mixed up right now. Also, I guess pandemic made people more let's say, pragmatic in terms of negotiations. So I see, from my perspective, I see less and less differences in terms of how people approach the business side of our, let's say, our relationship, looking for a company, trusting that company. There are certain nations that are more difficult in terms of convincing. We spoke that before our conversation today, that we both see that it's difficult for Polish companies to enter German market, Austrian market, Switzerland market, so-called the DACH countries. It's, you know, I'm not an expert in negotiations with those nations. Well, if I would have been, so I would have more clients from there. Nevertheless, we have certain problems. This is based on those cultural differences that, for example, German clients, they like to have references from their own market. But how can you have reference from their own market when a German company won't trust you because you don't have references from their own market? So it's a vicious circle. Sometimes, of course, no, I have colleagues that have had German clients. Sometimes also it's difficult to make business because you don't have an office in the country of origin of your lead, of your potential client. That happens, for example, with Emirati clients, United Arab Emirates. We recently were on a trip in Dubai, and I realized, well, we were there a couple of times, and all the time we are seeing the same thing. There are guys from special economic areas approaching us and convincing us and different Polish companies to set up an office in Dubai or Abu Dhabi because it's easier than to make business there. That's true. There are certain clients that will look where your office is based. If it's based only in Warsaw, for example, or in Wrocław, Poznań, so then they will ask you, but do you have an office in Dubai? Do you have an office in, for example, New York? Americans also sometimes tend to ask that question. So a lot of our colleagues from the industry, Visuality, haven't done that yet, but I'm sure that that moment gonna happen anytime soon. They are starting offices in United States, in Canada, in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, because that gains trust among such clients.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
Łukasz, how it is with your company?
Yeah, I approach this question from a slightly different angle. I mean, you know, it actually goes back to our like founding story, and for me, it is like a cliche at the moment. But you know, we've always, what I've noticed is that, you know, we've got great analytical skills. You know, we're great at maths. We've got really good scientists and engineers. But what we're lacking is this sort of like communication skills, soft skills that I've seen. You know, in England, for example. We do business with less trust. You know, we don't we don't have such a, you know, great business acumen. So there were certainly things lacking on the soft side, and then, you know, we thought we're going to combine it. So, you know, Przemek, my co-founder, being an engineer, a great engineer in Poland, and myself having this experience about what matters to British clients, to be honest, because, you know, basically I got to know their expectations, the way they do business, you know, their what's important for them. You know, there is this joke that, you know, you can step on somebody's feet in London subway and the person will apologize to you. You know, there are certain small things that help you deal, work, understand foreign clients, and I think that worked for us. So, you know, Western clients always said, oh, you know what we need, like, you know, these people, this team, you know, the way you've set it up, it's exactly what we need, you know. So this was helping us in that aspect, you know. And many people will still experience it. I mean, you know, remote work may become more and more popular, but it will take time for people to change their habits, their mindsets, to open themselves up, like, truly internally. So definitely, like, knowing other cultures can help here. It's in nuances, but, you know, these nuances make a difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, thank you. There are so many more questions that I would love to ask, but we are running out of time. So there are many topics like no code, like developing MVPs for startups that I would love to listen to you talking about, and I'm pretty sure we will have to schedule another BizTalk just on that. But I do have one last question, and this is purely about you. So both of your companies are on the market for over 10 years. So what is your recipe for success? And
oh my
Michał?
God, this is the worst kind of a question, man. It's like bragging. It's bragging about, yeah, like,
It is time for
yeah.
bragging. It is time for bragging.
Okay, so I would say it's consistency. I would say it's transparency and honesty combined with good quality of work. I would say that in Visuality, what we do. So first of all, we care about the people. We hire talents. We help them grow. We invest in them our time, our money. We grow as an organization, but we also grow as individuals. Then, of course, combine that with, we follow golden rules of project management. We follow agile methodology. We do not neglect new things. We do not neglect new technologies. We are always up to date. We constantly improve ourselves based on experience, based on the projects that we've done. And that is the recipe for maybe not success, but for being satisfied with your work. You know, our CEO recently wrote an article about how everyone call their companies the best. You need to be the best. BMW is the best car. Microsoft is the best software provider. They may be, but we are small companies. We are in different industry. We offer service, which is more difficult to describe, more difficult to brag about also. So Visuality is not the best software house. It will never, most likely it will never be. It's not important. We are very good in our niche. We are somewhere between 2nd and 5th place from all the Rails companies according to rankings. It means something, but I think that the recipe is building a harmonious organization built with people that love their job. They like to come to the office or work remotely right now, because it's all changed right now, but it used to be before. And what makes Visuality, in our case, it makes Visuality a friendly place to be. And then that is reflected in our quality, in our good communication, in our transparency, honesty, etc. Every organization is the people. So my recipe for Michał's recipe, our CEO's recipe for Visuality was always having good people and letting them grow, and letting them go if they want to go. Yeah. So
Thank you. Łukasz?
Yeah, I mean, in addition to sort of combining, you know, hard technical and soft skills, which I've already mentioned, I would also point to consistency. I mean, I'm, you know, doing it for 11 years now, and I'm still learning. I mean, there's, you know, the subject itself is complicated, the market is changing, so like you need to stay up to date constantly, you need to adapt, evolve, and there is still, you know, a lot of ways that a lot of things that I don't know. So consistency helps you build that knowledge over time, understand the market, your clients better. And yeah, I can't imagine, you know, like jumping into IT for, you know, 2 or 3 years and like going somewhere else. It's you know, it's not for me, that's definitely true, but I now appreciate like everything I've learned on my way, and it just takes time. What I would add to that is also like integrity. So we were focusing on being, you know, like a true honest partner for our clients. So we didn't want to just like, you know, take their money and sort of go. We really cared about what they are building, where they are, how can we help them. So we put ourselves in their shoes, and with everything we've done, we prioritized the good of the product and not our profits. So, you know, then again, it turned out that it's also a good profit-making strategy. But yeah, we always put like clients' needs first. We try to stay like honest and basically, you know, be basically good people for our clients, like a true real partner, rather than just like a vendor, a supplier, you know, somebody who wants to run away with their money.
Thank you. I truly believe, and it is along with everything I heard at university, that focusing on clients and providing them the best service is always a great idea to grow your company. So to wrap it up, I would love to say thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you, Michał, thank you, Łukasz, for sharing the knowledge, and I wish you the very best. And that's pretty much it for today, and we can see each other next month for another BizTalk. Thank you.
Thank you for an interesting discussion. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It was